Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, and welcome Conscious Warriors to our next edition on CPtsd TV live. And today we're going to share some information around how our birth order can impact our personality. Now, if you're here for the first time, welcome. It's so wonderful to have you join in with our global family where we do life together as we go through the recovery process from complex PTSD, childhood developmental trauma. And for us, doing life together in a safe space helps our recovery process become very encouraged and warm, and it makes us know that we are safe to take our one next step in our journey. Please remember to hit like or subscribe, whichever channel you're on, and remember to share so that the silent majority are able to have access to information that can absolutely be encouraging and to help them know that there's help and they can change their life around as well. At this moment in history, I can't emphasize enough how much there is a silent majority when it comes to mental health, because we're in situations where we can't even discuss this with our families, okay? And they're the most intimate part of our lives. And if we can't discuss it with our families, then there's no way out in the world that people are going to start having the discussions that we need to have. So mental health can be very isolating. And especially complex PTSD can be isolating because when we went off and we were on our own, we knew that we were safe, okay? So we want to be a conscious warrior and we want to share, because we never know when and how we're going to help the one next person take their one next step. And that's what it means to help each other as well. We're not looking for rewards or a pat on the back. We're looking to let somebody else know that we care and that there is a whole family coming together globally here where we help each other. Good morning, Laura. Good morning, Katja. It's great to have you here this morning. Welcome, everybody. Now, I want to share this information with you this morning about how our birth order can impact our personality, because it was one of the first things that helped me gain traction around not only who I am or who I came out of my family to be, but how my family impacted me. Now, one of the books that I first read on this, with this information, is called Bradshaw on the Family. Now, I read this years ago, but I reordered it because it was so vital in the beginning steps of my recovery as well. And it always helps me to remember my birth order, what it gave to me in a good way, and the parts that I also need to work on putting down as well. So we're going to go through birth order from 1 to 4 and an only child. Now, I want you to think, if you're after number 1, 2, 3 or 4, after that, the birth order starts on repeat. So if you're child number 5, then you're number 1, child number 6, you're number 2, and so on. So that's how you work out your birth order. So I want you to think for a moment now, what was your birth order? Now, for me, it's easy because I was the first child, all right? Not expected, but the first child nevertheless. And with John Bradshaw's book too, by the way, the reason why it's called The Family is because it puts everything into the context of our role in the family and how dysfunction and functional families can impact that role as well. That's why it's vital, because especially with complex PTSD, there is so much that happens for us, and this role that we're given is really subtle as well. So there's a lot of information around how that role gets formed because of the birth order and the parents' availability time-wise and more. but it's really important that we're able to reflect inwardly and see what happens for us. Good morning, Diana. So, I'm on the second born page. Okay, so firstborns, which was me, take the lead and focus on productivity. Okay, so we're natural born leaders and are expected to be a role model for their younger siblings, and that was me to a T. So when I learned this information, I could look back and go, well, yeah, that was me. I was the one left with my brother to look after him. They'd pull me out of class in school when I was in really young years to look after my brother if he was emotional and things like that. So I was given that responsibility from a really young age. So that makes us turn out to be responsible, and sometimes we're overly responsible. We've got to learn to put it down. Very conscientious, we're observant, we pay attention, and good listeners, we're meticulous. So we take a lot of care around the things that we do, and it's, what's the word, scientifically known. They've done fact-finding stuff on this, that we're the achievers in terms of educational and career achievement. First children can often be the ones who do more education and career-wise than subsequent children. It's not across the board, it happens for everyone. It's just what they've done in studies. And it may not be, if you've come from a family of high achievers, it may not be true for you, but generally speaking, it will be true. The birth, Diana said, what was the birth order again? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it starts repeating again. So the 5th child is the first, 6th child is the second, 7th child is the third, and 8th child is the 4th child. Okay, so that's what you're listening for. And the first child has a desire for detail and go by the letter. And I was so like this. Everything had to be done by the letter. You know, there was a process, there was an absolute order of how things should be done. And if someone came in, like, a third child who, I just happened to marry 2 of them, who'd like to have a lot of fun, I missed the spirit of the moment. I would miss the spirit of the moment. I wouldn't understand it because, and to top it all off, having Asperger's, I'm very much focused on order. So I've had to learn how to put that down and sometimes breathe and just enjoy the moment. Okay, so you can see how it can work both ways. And we want to know how these things impact our life. So we want to take one of them and say, okay, I'm going to observe where that's happening in my life. And all of these sheets, worksheets, I'll just put the link up for you, in the free resources under how your birth order can impact your personality. They're under the PDF section. Okay, we ready for the second child? Secondborns make connections and relate to the emotional needs of the family. They can be eager to please and impress due to the reduced amount of parental attention. So the first child gets a ton of it, obviously. That in a functional family, might I add. Okay. Secondborns can be easygoing, people pleasers, and we're not talking about people pleasers to the dysfunctional level that we have in complex PTSD. We're just talking about they'll notice what somebody needs, okay? Thrive on friendships, gold star negotiating skills, and I can definitely say my daughter is a second child, she has that. She's able to negotiate the emotional temperature of the room when we're all different. Okay, she's amazing. Peace and peacemakers, and second children will hold values and make decisions like their mother. My daughter and I, it's just mind-blowing. I'll tell you a funny story. When we were in Bali, so she got married and we flew in, the 3 of us flew into Bali because I was flying home from Bali after she got married. And the next morning I went down for dinner and they toddled down, and we'd been eating predominantly Asian food for 3 weeks. So at breakfast there was mashed potato at the serving. You know, there's masses and masses of food everywhere. Help yourself, self-serve. And I went, oh my goodness, mashed potato, I haven't had this in forever. And I got some and put it on a plate with my normal breakfast stuff. She came down later and she sat down and she'd got mashed potato as well, and we just looked at each other and laughed because we are very, very similar. But her being the second child does make her more of a peacemaker, where me being the first child, I'm focused on where we're going. Okay, so it's a good balance between the two of us. Okay. They may not, second children may not be able to clearly express how they feel, and can often feel crazy because they're torn between their head and their heart, and have a hard time saying how they're feeling, because they can be observing the whole family and feel for everyone, but then trying to process that into how they feel when there's so much going on can be very challenging for them. Okay. Third children. Okay, hands up if you're a third child. And we all know Nick, my third child, and I had 2 husbands that were third children, and very interesting. So third borns just want to have fun, and they have a need for relationship. Now, if they come out of dysfunctional families, they will push their relationships away instead of turning towards having a relationship and wanting to solve the issues in the relationship. Okay, so they pay less attention to the family rules. Okay, so they're more likely to be the rebel because they get less attention from their parents. They are more than willing to take risks and can do out there behaviour to attract attention. Okay. They're uncomplicated, outgoing, attention hungry. They can be rebellious, self-centered, stubborn, live in the moment, and may appear uninvolved, but they are very involved. They have trouble making choices and decisions, and I can honestly say with the deepest of respect, it was something that drove me nuts about the kids' dad. I'm a decision maker. Even if I get it wrong, we'll make a decision and we'll make a step. Can have a hard time establishing their own identity. So remember, Diana, you're a third child. How did you go, Diana, with that description? Have you had a hard time establishing your own identity? Because that can happen with the third child because they're looking for a relationship and they're looking at all the relationships in the family. So trying to have their own identity can be challenging in amongst all of that. So you really need a very conscious parent to help them establish that as well. And my Nick is a bundle of fun all the time. Him and I can knock heads, but we get through it all the time, and he makes me laugh so much. I need it. I can be too serious. Okay, so fourthborns are very responsible, but feel powerless. Okay, so they are very aware of the unification needs of the family system. So they catch and collect the unresolved family tensions. So whatever's going around in the whole entire family, whether it's out there or internal, the non-verbal stuff, they are going to feel it all, okay? Diana said, right on, yes, she was a challenge, and yes, she is much like Nick. Yeah, that was the third child, yeah. But third children are absolutely loving and adorable too. Just one sec, girls. Just let me go through the fourth one and I'll answer your questions. So they are very aware of the needs of the family system and what's happening at attention level. This is the fourth child. They identify with every family action and interaction within their family system. So for those of you who've just joined in, we're talking about birth order, and we're talking about it in relation to family system, which you can have a really good, easy to read understanding with John Bradshaw's The Family Book, okay? It gives you lots of examples. So fourth, children can feel very responsible, but feel powerless, helpless to change anything. So they will act kind and caring to distract pain and take care of the family. They can be immature, spoilt and disruptive, and the family's scapegoat. Okay, so that was the fourth child. So remember, first child is the fifth, second child is the sixth, third child is the seventh, and fourth child is the eighth. That's how it goes. Now, anyone, before we go into only children, I'll just address what you said. Diana said, yes, totally, I've never fitted in and don't have good parents, so yeah, not great, been a bit of a follower. Yeah, and that's okay, because it's really good that you can recognise that, okay? Because that's what being a conscious warrior is. When I can recognise it, then I can go, right, do I want to keep doing things this way, or do I want to change it up? Do I want to look and work out what's my one next step so I don't keep following? And that's a good thing to recognise it. Well done. Hannah said, how does one establish their own identity when the traumatic background comes from all the way from childhood? I have a course in the academy called My Authentic Self to address this. Now, I know that that's not a here's the box answer, but what we need is the ability to have the order of our soul so that we can go in and go, right, this is what's happening in this area, and then we go on and on and on. And once we recognise where we're acting out of, we can then go, well, that's not who I am, and replace it with who I am. So that's why I wrote My Authentic Self, because of that need. I had a need to know who I am, because I knew that I wasn't everything that happened to me in my childhood. So I know it's not a box answer, but we've got to go through the process of unpacking who I'm not. Okay. Diana said, can I ask, does it differ if I'm the last child of my mum but middle child of my dad, as I have 2 bio sisters and 2 half sisters? No. Well, no, it's the birth order from your original, your family of origin, okay? So go by that, because that's what you would have started with. If you change roles when you go into your dad's family, then take the key points from the birth order, see what fits, see what doesn't, and then step into the parts of you that you know who you are, instead of the parts of you you had to be because of how the family molded you. And that's what we're aiming for, okay? All right, let's do only children. Only children are super responsible and carry all the family processes. So when the family is functional, they're like a firstborn with superpower plus more confidence, okay? And my daughter Chloe married an only child, and he's a super version of me being a first child, and because he had a healthy family and he is very confident. He's a musician, so it really works for him. They're confident, they're perfectionists, they're independent, they're outside the box thinkers, they're wise beyond their years. They tend to learn from adults, not their peers, all right? And if their parents' marriage is healthy, they carry healthy function. However, if the marriage is dysfunctional, they'll carry all the parts of the dysfunction in the marriage, okay? Just one sec. So that's all the birth roles. Diana said, that course helped me to become my authentic self and not who my mother or my, I assume, father had you to be. Yeah, Diana has done the course, My Authentic Self, and we've been privileged in our Facebook group to watch you not only grow into your authentic self, but overcome a lot of the complex trauma as well. It's amazing. And I know this time next year, again, you will have grown so much more. And Diana spent 30 years in recovery and nothing had changed until she found the work that I do, and then she started doing the courses. And you're amazing. You're amazing. You have put it all into place. Diana, you are more than welcome. Okay, just remember, it's not about biting all of the apple at once. We can't. It's too stressful. We do have that visual in our mind of, look, I just want to be there. I want to be free of all of this, all of the effects of childhood developmental trauma. We do. But we also need to have a piece that we're doing the work and we're going to make it through. So I look back now when I couldn't get out of bed, and my one next step was just getting out of bed and hoping I didn't fall over. And I think that's all I did. I just kept taking one more step. And with complex PTSD, we've got to take the one step that we put into our life, that we have the experience of changing up so that our life, so that our whole, not just our whole nervous system, but our brain develops new neural pathways and everything begins to change for us. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've lost track of what everyone's... Okay, I'm sorry I lost track of the conversation, but I will go back in and answer everything. Okay, so if you'd like all of that, the link is up above in the comments so that you can download the birth orders. Plus I've put some lines in there underneath so that you can write down your own reflections on the bits that work for you, that are positive and functional for you, and the bits that are still part of the family and you want to work on changing it up, doing your one next step. And if the only thing you can do is turn it around into a positive, as in, let me think. So take the example I gave of being a first child. I always did everything by the letter of the law, so to speak, like, there's an order, let's stick to the order. But my third child, whom I love and adore, is always having fun. Then I've had to learn, I've had to look at that and say, I need to put that down. There are times when I need to put it down and I need to just sit back and have fun. And we can teach ourselves to do that, to turn the experience around so that we are having a more balanced life and a lot more fun as well. All right, so choose something fun. Okay, thanks girls, thanks for coming along, and I look forward to sharing some information with you tomorrow morning. And remember to hit share, like, subscribe to know when I'm live and to help the silent majority. And remember, above and beyond everything else, you are loved. Bye for now.